In this short lesson, we're going to talk about complex sentences and complex sentences in relationship to commas. Remember, it's all about the comma this semester. So when we have compound sentences, we put the comma between the two independent clauses. Here's an independent clause. Here's a verb and here's its subject. Here's another one, independent clause, verb and subject. If we want to join those, we put a comma and put the fanboys in. Now, sometimes you want a different kind of sentence. You want some relationship between the two parts. Remember, when we talked about coordinating conjunctions, fanboys, coordinating conjunctions, balance two parts. But then we talked about subordinating conjunctions that introduce dependent clauses. And dependent clauses show a connection of one clause to another. So I'm going to I'll start with two main clauses. I always use food examples. So I should come up with another one. Start with seedlings pretty soon. I planted my garden, period. There's a nice independent clause. Here's my verb. Here's my subject. Here's a direct object. I will have lots of veggies. Okay, two nice sentences. They can both stand on their own. I could combine them with a fanboy and make them a compound sentence. I planted my garden, so I will have lots of veggies. Or I could say, I planted my garden and I will have lots of veggies. So that would work to combine them into compound sentences. But if I want to show maybe that there's a different kind of connection, I'm going to make one of them into a dependent clause. I'm going to make the first one. And I'm going to say, because I planted my garden, comma, see that comma there? I will have lots of veggies. Because is a subordinating conjunction. Because when I add the word because, that makes this part here a dependent clause. And this one remains an independent clause. Because I planted my garden, comma, I will have lots of veggies. Now, so the comma rule that we have here is when you begin a sentence with a subordinating conjunction, but a dependent clause. When you have the dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence, you follow it with a comma before you do the main clause. But if I put the dependent clause at the end of the sentence, I would not use a comma. Let me show you what that looks like. I'll put this one first. I will have lots of veggies. I'm abbreviating my sentence because I planted my garden. Sorry, it's a little smushed there. So I changed this. I took the dependent clause that was at the beginning and I moved it to the end of the sentence. So instead of reading, because I planted my garden, comma, I will have lots of veggies. Now I've switched it and I say, I will have lots of veggies because I planted my garden. Here is our main clause. And the sentence starts with the main clause. Here is my dependent clause. And when the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, you do not use a comma. And part of that is because of the rule of intro. When you start your sentence with a dependent clause and you follow it with an independent clause, you put a comma. If your dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, you do not use a comma. All right, next up, introductory element.